Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. Iran warns of retaliation if Trump strikes over execution of anti-government protesters. US withdraws some personnel from regional bases. Denmark expands military presence in Greenland ahead of key White House meeting, but Trump asserts anything less than Greenland in the hands of the US is unacceptable. INSV Kaundinya creates history, successfully completes maiden voyage from Porbandar in Gujarat to Muscat in Oman. And India celebrates harvest festivities of Makar Sankranti, Bihu and Pongal. Prime Minister Modi participates in Pongal celebrations in Delhi. And news just coming in, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar in a social media post on X has informed that he received a call from Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. Both the leaders discussed the evolving situation in and around Iran. And DD India correspondent Jessica Taneja joins us for more. Jessica, take us through the significance of this call and how should India be looking at the evolving unrest in Iran?
Well, that's correct, Shubhendu. The evolving unrest in Iran has got the attention, not just India, but everyone around the world, with the protests now simmering and the death toll rising. The ongoing situation is quite difficult right now. You saw an Indian advisory also issued 4 citizens there and working professionals there to return to India as situation on ground, as I said, gets quite difficult to navigate even for the authorities there. But this conversation that External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held with his Iranian counterpart Sayed Abbas Araghchi also comes at a time when there were tensions in a sense, of course, not just in the region, but also when it comes to trading with Iran. Now, you saw the US president who had announced that there'll be a 25% tariffs on countries doing trade with Iran. And India, although does not do enough trade, but then it is an important partner in terms of exporting rice, basmati rice to Iran. So that is one component of the trade, while of course the fate of the Chabahar port awaits. But the conversation between the two did not specifically mention anything beyond or much beyond the current ongoing escalation that we're witnessing in Iran, and which started in the Grand Bazaar in Tehran last week and has now become a widespread protest across the country. But the two leaders had last, if you'd recall, spoken in June last year, right, when Operation Sindoor was ongoing, and that was a complex period of time for India, and an emphasis on dialogue and de-escalation. You heard the statement from the Iranian side as well. And this conversation, of course, was confirmed by the External Affairs Minister on his social media post. Certainly an important moment for the region, but also for India in terms of now how the world trade changes and the dynamics around economics certainly don't remain the same.
Also, Jessica, this call comes amidst the advisory by India for its nationals to avoid traveling to Iran. If you could take us through the details of that. We're trying to connect with DD India correspondent Jessica Taneja, giving us the details of the significance of India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar's telephonic conversation with Foreign Minister of Iran Abbas Araghchi. We seem to have lost contact with Jessica. That's the news that's coming in at this hour. The two foreign ministers have spoken. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has spoken with Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi of Iran. Moving on, as Iran remains on the edge, the United States is withdrawing some personnel from bases in the Middle East, as per US official, after Tehran warned neighbors that it would hit American bases if Washington strikes Now, with 2 weeks of crackdown and over 2,000 lives lost, the United States has threatened to intervene on behalf of anti-government protesters.
Unrest in Iran continues to intensify as authorities move to clamp down on a massive wave of nationwide protest. Tehran has vowed fast-track trial for those arrested, even as tension escalates within the United States.
These individuals who have beheaded people or burned people in the street, we must act quickly if we want to do anything, even if we do the exact same thing, but in a couple of months, it will not have the same impact. If we do the same in 2 or 3 months, it will not be as effective.
The situation sharpened after US President Donald Trump warned of very strong action if Iran proceed with executions linked to the protest. Washington has also urged Iranians to stay on streets, with President Trump promising that help is on the way. Iran reacted strongly. Its UN ambassador Amir Saeed Irawani accused the US president of inciting violence, threatening Iran's sovereignty, and attempting to destabilize the government. Tehran has also warned neighboring countries hosting US troops that American bases could be targeted if Washington intervenes. For the first time, Iranian officials have acknowledged high death toll, confirming reports of over 2,000 people killed during the unrest. Meanwhile, a US-based rights group has claimed the figure has exceeded 2,600, according to Reuters. In Tehran, funeral ceremonies were held for more than 100 members of the security forces killed during the protest. As the crackdown continues, dozens of Iranians have reportedly fled the country seeking safety. The unrest sparked by the dire economic conditions saw strong action by the authorities, with nationwide shutdown of the internet lasting over 132 hours. However, some details of the crackdown began emerging Tuesday as Iranians made phone calls abroad for the first time in over 2 weeks of unrest. The protests have drawn global attention. Thousands rallied in Sydney in solidarity, while France, Germany, and UK summoned Iranian ambassadors.
The contrast between the courage of the Iranian people and the brutality of their desperate regime has never been clearer. Mr. Speaker, we've called out this brutality face to face. We're working with allies on further sanctions and doing all we can to protect UK nationals.
Russia, however, extended support to Tehran, backing the Iranian government amid growing international pressure.
I do not think that any third party can change the nature of Russian-Iranian relations. This relationship is based on agreements reached by the presidents of Russia and Iran. It serves the interests of both states and both nations, and it has been implemented through a series of real projects.
What began as an economic protest has now become a major challenge to Iran's ruling system. With agency inputs, Tripti Tripathi report, TD India.
And amid the ongoing protest in Iran, the Indian government has issued fresh travel advisory for its citizens. The Ministry of External Affairs said that in view of the current developments in Iran, Indian nationals are advised against travelling to the country until further notice. Detailed advisory further states that in continuation of advisory issued by Government of India on 5th of January and in view of the evolving situation in Iran, Indian nationals who are currently in Iran, students, pilgrims and tourists are advised to leave Iran by available means of transport, including commercial flights. It is reiterated that all Indian citizens and PIOs should exercise due caution, avoid areas of protest or demonstrations, stay in contact with Indian Embassy in Iran and monitor local media for any developments. The emergency contact helplines of the Indian Embassy are provided, which are mobile numbers that are, I'll read them out to you. It's +9891 281 09115, +9891 281 09109, +9891 281 09102 and +9899 3279 359. And the email helpline is cons.tehran, tehran @ma.gov.in. In other news, tensions are escalating over the future of Greenland as Washington sharpens its rhetoric and Europe closes ranks. What was once a fringe geopolitical idea has now become a full-blown transatlantic flashpoint. Here's more.
Amid rising tensions over the United States' push to assert control over Greenland, the foreign ministers of Greenland and Denmark met US Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, signaling urgent diplomatic engagement as pressure mounts. Earlier, Greenland's Prime Minister cautioned that this was not the time to reopen debates on the Arctic island's future independence, warning that external pressure could jeopardize Greenland's fundamental right to self-determination. The remarks came as US President Donald Trump reignited controversy, declaring that anything short of Greenland being under American control is, in his words, unacceptable. In a social media post, Trump argued that the United States needs Greenland for national security, calling it critical to the proposed Golden Dome missile defense initiative. He went further, urging NATO to take the lead in securing the Arctic territory, claiming the alliance would become far more formidable with Greenland under US control. Europe has responded with firm resistance. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen underlined the European Union's strong and enduring ties with Greenland, pledging continued political and economic support for the island's interests.
Greenland belongs to its people, so it's up to Denmark and Greenland, and only to them, to decide on matters that are concerning Denmark and Greenland.
France has issued one of the strongest warnings yet. President Emmanuel Macron cautioned that any attempt by the United States to seize Greenland from Denmark would trigger unprecedented consequences.
I would now like to address the situation on Greenland. And these are the words of the French president. We do not underestimate the statements concerning Greenland. If the sovereignty of a European ally were affected, the cascading consequences would be unprecedented. France is closely monitoring the situation and will act in full solidarity with Denmark and its sovereignty.
In a clear political signal, French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot announced that France will open a consulate in Greenland on February 6th, underscoring the strategic importance of the Danish territory. Back home in the United States, public opinion appears sharply out of step with the White House rhetoric. Just 17% of Americans approve of President Trump's efforts to acquire Greenland, with overwhelming majorities across both Democratic and Republican voters opposing any use of military force to annex the island. As Washington talks tough, Europe draws its lines. Greenland finds itself at the center of a rapidly intensifying global power struggle in the Arctic. Bureau Report, DD India.
In the days since deposing Nicolas Maduro, President Donald Trump has given several justifications for his dramatic action in Venezuela. But the thing Trump is most focused on, the thing he keeps pointing to as central to his ambitions, is oil, specifically opening Venezuela's vast oil fields to American companies. He reiterated the same again on Tuesday while speaking at an event in Detroit. Trump said that US is taking in millions and millions of barrels of oil worth billions of dollars from South American country, and in the passage will make that country very strong again.
We're bringing Venezuela back, and we're going to be great for Venezuela, great for our country. We're taking in, as I said, millions and millions of barrels of oil, and now they're coming in initially on a daily basis, 50 million, and values of over $5 billion. That's in one day. We're going to work with Venezuela. We'll make that country very strong again. We'll get oil prices down even further. We have it down at about a 6-year low, 7-year low, but we're going to get it down.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. Ukraine appoints government's technical innovation guru Mikhailo Fedorov as defense minister. Polls show Brazil's Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva leads right-wing rivals ahead of 2026 elections. At least 31 people killed after crane falls on a train in Thailand.
geopolitics and trade deals, economic challenges amid development, hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium, we'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati said on Wednesday that consensus has been reached on the members of the Palestinian Technocratic Committee tasked with governing the Gaza Strip. Abdelati said that the committee is expected to announce soon and deployed to Gaza to manage daily life and essential services. The move comes as US President Trump is expected to advance the second phase of his Gaza plan, including a new post-war administration for the territory, according to Palestinian sources. The plan, which has been agreed in principle by Israel and Hamas in October, including formation of a technocratic Palestinian body with no Hamas representation to oversee Gaza during a transitional period under supervision of an international board of peace. Ukraine's parliament has appointed Mikhailo Fedorov as the country's new defense minister amid ongoing conflict with Russia. 34-year-old, who previously served as first deputy prime minister and minister for digital transformation, has been a key architect for Ukraine's high-tech military response. Fedorov played a central role in deploying the Starlink terminals to improve frontline connectivity and in developing a drone-based defensive strategy against Russian forces. He said his priorities would include digitizing the armed forces and expanding the use of drones and artificial intelligence. Sunday's presidential election in Portugal is expected to go to a runoff vote for the first time in 40 years, as new poll shows a very tight race among the top candidates. According to a survey by Católica University, far-right candidate André Ventura is slightly ahead with 24%, followed by socialist Antonio José Seguro at 23%. Liberal Initiative's João Contrim de Figueiredo is also in contention. Within the poll is 2.2% margin of error. Despite Ventura's lead, his rejection rate above 60% reflects growing fragmentation in the Portuguese politics and uncertainty over who will reach the second round. More election updates. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva is leading his right-wing rivals ahead of the 2026 elections as per a new poll. A survey conducted between January 8 to 11 found that Lula would get 36% in a first-round vote, ahead of Senator Flavio Bolsonaro at 23% and Sao Paulo Governor Tarcísio de Freitas at 9%. In a runoff, Lula would beat Bolsonaro 45 to 38% and Freitas 44% to 39%, showing little change from last month's poll. The survey included over 2,000 respondents and has about a 2-point margin of error. Shifting focus to Asia Pacific, Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi plans to dissolve parliament next week and call a snap parliamentary election, the Secretary General of a party informed on Wednesday, as she seeks public backing for spending plans that have rattled the financial markets. According to two ruling party lawmakers, Takaichi is considering holding the elections on February 8th. Japan's first female prime minister will be looking to ride a surge in public support since coming to office in October, despite triggering a major diplomatic row with China. The vote will also test public appetite for Takaichi's plans to boost government spending to revive growth and increase defense outlays under a revised national security strategy. At least 32 people have died after a crane at China-backed high-speed rail construction site in Thailand collapsed onto a passenger train on Wednesday, causing it to derail. The Thai Health Ministry said 3 people remain missing and 64 were injured, including 7 in serious condition, as rescue operations remain underway. The incident occurred in Nakao, Ratchashima province, northeast of Bangkok, with footage showing that broken crane structure resting on concrete pillars as smoke rose from the wrecked carriages below. Prime Minister of Thailand, Anutin Charnvirakul, visited the train crash site and inspected the overall damage. Italian Thai Development, the contractor for the rail section, has also expressed condolences and said it would compensate victims' families and cover the medical costs. Moving on, prices of gold and silver have risen significantly in domestic market of Nepal. Dealers attribute the sharp rise in gold and silver prices to the fluctuation in the value of US dollar and ongoing global economic instability. According to international media reports, the price of gold in international market today stands at about 4,635 US dollars per ounce, while silver is priced about 90 US dollars per ounce. India's growth story is organic and it has played a crucial role to play in New Asia, feels many experts. DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo caught up with the former cabinet minister of Singapore, who is visiting New Delhi to speak at the Dr. C.D. Deshmukh Memorial Lecture 2026. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar also attended this event.
India has emerged as a leader of Global South. So what is going to be India's responsibility and position in New Asia? For this, I have with me the former Cabinet Minister of Singapore, George Yeo. Let's talk to him and find out what is your opinion about India's role.
Well, India is growing nicely. This will continue for some time. The growth is organic and self-sustaining. And with each year, India adds on more muscle, and its influence in the region, in the world, will naturally increase.
What do you think and why do you think that India has grown and grown phenomenally? Is it because of the leadership of the country?
Government policy has, of course, helped a lot in infrastructure, in the renewal of the railway system, new airports, increased spending in education, the growth of mobile telephony, the Aadhaar card. All this has made a big impact, enabling Indians in all parts of the country to be absorbed into the national and the international economy.
So when we talk about India's new role, what are going to be the challenges for India because of the constantly changing geopolitical situation?
Well, India is in a good position. India doesn't threaten anybody. So India can be friends with everybody. And I'm glad to see that India-China relations are stabilizing and opening a new chapter. India has no necessary enemy. And because of that, it can eat on every table. And that's a good position to be in. And in the process, exert an influence which is positive in favor of peace, in favor of global cooperation.
When we talk about the country's growing position and responsibility, how do you see the role of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
Well, he's been a strong leader and exercised strong leadership in the country, and also regionally and internationally. He's well respected, and for all major issues, India has to be factored into the equation.
So there you heard George Yeo. He is the former Cabinet Minister of Singapore, and he thinks that the Indian leadership has done proud not only to the country but also to Asia, and India has a very important role to play in coming days as well. With cameraman Shubham in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. North Macedonia welcomed the Orthodox New Year with centuries-old Vetkani Carnival on Thursday. Revelers in this happened on Tuesday, beg your pardon, masks and costumes filled with streets of the village of Vetkani for the annual celebration. Known for its loud music and satire, the parade is believed to bring good luck for the year ahead. Bulgarian villagers marked the annual Sova festival with traditional rituals, dressed in colorful and often frightening costumes. The participants lit ritual fires, danced through villages. The ritual is believed to chase away winter spirits and bring good health and good harvest in the new year. Hungarian firefighters rescued a dog from icy waters as extreme winter weather gripped the country. The animal had fallen through a broken ice and was clinging to the edge when rescue teams reached it using a raft and a specialized gear. Still to come on DD India News Hour. We'll talk about the implications of growing unrest in Iran. India's Niti Aayog releases Export Preparedness Index 2024, presenting state and union territory export readiness.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. We return to our top story on Iran crisis. Joining me is noted international scholar and commentator Burzin Wagmer from Center for Iranian Studies, University of London. He's joining us live from London. Mr. Wagmer, welcome to DD India. Now, with over 2,400 people killed in the protests, the numbers rising and violent crackdown by the Iranian authorities, what is your read on the unrest in Iran? What is the direction in which it appears to be heading?
Well, the direction as we speak is uncertain. We are in uncertain waters because the regime has gained something of an upper hand overnight, in that if it has admitted that over 2,000 are dead, one can infer, and this is according to official IRNA and Tasnim and Mehr news agencies, Persian broadcasts, you can be sure that the death toll is definitely higher. Point number one. Point number two, Shubhendru. We are given to understand, and this is being pumped out as disinformation, that these are rioters who seek sheer pleasure by creating disorder, burning mosques or public buildings and the like, and that they've been armed to the teeth as insurrectionists. But then you see hospital emergency service staff who, out of fear, speak privately, and this is trickled out to the world. They tell us, when you see the cadavers that have been piled up in morgues, that they do not have weapons on their person. They were unarmed people killed as such. The security forces and the paramilitaries, the Revolutionary Guards and the Basij, are luring young people and others into what are called killer zones of particular streets and paths, kettling them in and then shooting them at plain sight. And why is this possible? Well, because the regime has honed its skills over 2.5 decades in getting the upper hand every time such social unrest protests have happened, because of a sclerotic dysfunctional economy, due to lack of civil liberties and the like. And what makes it more acute now, Shubhendru, is this. The Tehran security apparatus and deep state has been assisted by Chinese and Russian intelligence agencies for surveillance and digital technology, facial recognition, and deep packet information technology, because they didn't have these skills hitherto, but now they do have them in place to even be more repressive than earlier.
Okay, Mr. Wagmer, there is a lot of anticipation around the manner in which United States could act. There are statements that have been coming from President Trump. Now, the latest is that US is withdrawing some personnel personnel from bases in the Middle East and West Asia. After Tehran had warned that the neighbors, it would hit American bases if Washington strikes. Do you see these as symptoms of a impending US-Iran face-off?
To which I would answer like this at the outset. Never take Mr. Trump literally, but you can take him seriously. That is something we've all learned up to now with him. And yes, some personnel have been asked in the last few hours to evacuate Al Udeid base in Qatar. But nothing has been said for the Bahrain 5th Fleet in Manama or other bases in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. But this is also from Iran's part to saber-rattle and up the ante that the entire Persian Gulf is our backwater and we can strike you where it hurts. This is what they've capitalized on always. Plus, oil prices have jacketed up, as you do know, because the Straits of Hormuz chokehold is there. But please remember that the Straits of Hormuz are also concomitantly controlled by Oman. Iran doesn't have the entire jurisdiction over it as per the international law of the sea. So that will be brought to bear on it. And while President Trump could physically undertake something kinetic action, it may not necessarily unravel the regime right away. For one thing, you must understand, during the last revolution, it took 13 months from Jan 78 to February 79 to dismantle the Shah, and that was a strong state too. So we are just into a fortnight now, and you can't simply have regime change. But also please remember with the Syrian example of a security state, which was a pretty powerful state, at least officially speaking. But when things crumble, they just crumble suddenly and immediately, which tells you that nothing historical is contingent.
All right. If not a regime change, at the same time, would you say that the Iran clerical regime led by Supreme Leader Khamenei faces its biggest challenge as yet in the manner in which these protests have spread?
Absolutely. Because the social contract is completely frayed. That needs to be stated at the outset. Despite differing contentious Iranian voices of this point or that point, one thing on which they all are agreed, whether in Iran, within the Islamic Republic today, as I am on air, or in the Iranian diaspora on 5 continents, one thing is there, that the social contract with the leadership is completely broken. And on that particular acute point, there is no point of return, because there is immense talk, even at the middle ranking levels, that Khamenei could or should step down. That is the Faqih, as he is the supreme leader, the Rahbar. He ought to step down. But then what we do envisage, if the regime remains intact, Shubhendru, and doesn't collapse, and this is what we have been, the scenarios in Iranian studies we've sought out, is that the Revolutionary Guards will take a stronger position than they already are. They are very much at the front, right, and center, but they would come into play, and Iran could turn into something of a military security oligarchy like Pakistan, where the Guards, as a military dictatorship, would come in to run the place in more ways than one, keeping the clerics with the Islamic veneer as a formal titular head. But they would come in times to play a greater role and consolidate the state, because they have much to lose if this system unravels too. What with controlling 60% of the economy, and that's just the official part, but then there is the dark part of the economy too. Smuggling and terrorism and other activities for which they've been responsible throughout the region and proscribed by the US, Bahrain, Canada, and UAE and other states. So, and of course, they are down and out. Their capabilities have been degraded after what we saw with Hamas, Houthis, and Hezbollah. But they're not yet out of the game. So the point is, they could consolidate to step in, and the state will dig its heels in to, continue shooting its population in cold blood.
All right. A little more on the complexity of Iran's domestic politics. Is the opposition to the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, necessarily an opportunity for Reza Pahlavi? I mean, do people want to replace clerical rule with monarchy once again?
A coterie does. Put it this way, Reza Pahlavi counts for something, but not everything. There is a groundswell of movement for him, that he could come in as something of an interim leader, and that it could be a constitutional monarchy, and that they could go back to the 1906 Belgian-style constitution that had been implemented, Shubhendru, after the first revolution in 1905-06. And it could become a constitutional monarchy or perhaps evolve into a republic, which would be more inclusive with greater freedoms and accountability by the leadership towards its populace. That is, I understand, blue sky thinking at present. We haven't even reached there, and I'm not jumping bridges before we reach them. But to answer directly, and I hope I have, he counts for something at present, but he's not the entire picture. You also have others in the diaspora, and also within Iran, who would want something of a democratic republic and a more inclusive liberal polity than the current dispensation, which is a theocracy and has been repressive for the last 47 years for the most basic fundamental freedoms that are not afforded to its citizens. And one could do this in the 80s and 90s of the last century. You can't keep a restive 21st century Gen Z or millennial population completely under your thumb. What with social media and news rolling 24 hours, who are patently aware of what conditions are in the outside world and who seek some of those very liberties, basic modicum of civil liberties and freedoms for themselves.
Right, Mr. Wagner, finally, to talk about the region and take a little macro view. The region of West Asia, Middle East has been very volatile in the past couple of years, particularly vis-a-vis the Gaza conflict. What do developments in Iran mean for the region?
To answer that, I would say like this. Envisage the fact that would that the current dispensation were to collapse, the immediate effect would be, and I'm going to say this, a sigh of relief among the GCC states and the Arabian Peninsula at large, because for all of them, Iran has always been the regional heavyweight. Okay, granted, it was even the heavyweight during Pahlavi Iran days when the Shah ruled the place. Now, that's just a patent fact that Iran was an emerging Indian Ocean medium-sized power back then too, in the 60s and 70s. But what happened after 79 is that Iran was a regional heavyweight and would continue to be so, but then it has created murder, mayhem, and chaos with terrorist proxies all over the region. And every one of the states in the Arab world has faced some form of Iranian terrorism, whether directly or indirectly, and they would see that the current dispensation and the guards and the regime collapsing would securitize and stabilize them at home. That cannot be denied, even if they cannot publicly bring themselves to concede that. They don't say so, but this is what is privately held across homes in Bahrain, Kuwait, Riyadh, Muscat, Doha, Dubai, Amman, Beirut, and elsewhere. That Iran has been a destabilizing force for them, and they have directly faced the wrath of the Iranian regime. It has nothing to do with Western bases or the Americans interfering or this, that, and the other. This is what these countries, GCC and non-GCC Arab states, would have us believe, and there is every reason to believe what they say.
On that note, Burzain Wagmer, many thanks for joining us on the News Hour and sharing your perspective. Moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the new Amrit Bharat trains mark a significant step in improving passenger comfort and connectivity across the country. Responding to a thread on X by Union Minister for Railways Ashwini Vaishnav on flagging off 9 new Amrit Bharat Express trains on various routes, Prime Minister noted the broader benefits of this initiative. Prime Minister stated that apart from enhancing passenger experience and connectivity, the new Amrit Bharat trains will also help in boosting commerce and tourism. A historic chapter has been added to India's maritime journey. Indian Navy's indigenously built, stitched sailing vessel, INSV Kaundinya, has successfully completed its maiden voyage from Porbandar in Gujarat to Muscat in Oman, receiving a grand ceremonial welcome. Hailed as a shining example of Prime Minister Modi's vision to revive India's maritime legacy, the vessel not only showcases ancient Indian shipbuilding techniques, but also retraces centuries-old trade routes across the Indian Ocean. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay gets us more.
The Indian Navy's indigenously built, stitched sailing vessel, INSV Kaundinya, received a ceremonial water salute as it successfully completed its maiden voyage from Porbandar in Gujarat to Muscat, Oman. India's Minister of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Sarbananda Sonowal, hailed the mission, calling the ship a shining example of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision to revive India's maritime legacy. He emphasized that the vessel reflects India's rich history, heritage and maritime power.
INSV जो हमारे कौंडिन्या ये vessel traditional जो हमारे ancient engineering जो स्किल है इसके जरिए उसको बने गए हैं और 18 दिन के अंदर जैसे पोरबंदर से मस्कट तक ये दौरा उन्होंने पूरा किया है विदाउट एनी मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी। ये बड़ी बात है। आज इसी वॉइस ने हमें याद दिलाया है इट हैज रिकॉल द हिस्ट्री द हेरिटेज एंड द पावर ऑफ इंडिया।
Named after the legendary sailor Kaundinya, the vessel draws inspiration from a 5th century ship depicted in the Ajanta cave paintings. It set sail from Porbandar on December 29, 2025 under the command of Commander Vikas Shioran, with Commander Y. Hemant Kumar as officer in charge. The crew included 4 officers, 13 sailors and Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council member Sanjeev Sanyal, who highlighted the voyage's cultural significance.
It was taken into the Navy as INSV Kaundinya. The name, by the way, has some significance. Kaundinya is the first Indian mariner of whom we know of by name. He sailed from somewhere on our eastern coast, so not this way but the other way, to Vietnam, what is now Vietnam and Cambodia. He married a local princess and set up a kingdom there. Unfortunately, he's almost forgotten in India, but he's a very big figure in the history of Cambodia. So we thought we will name him after the earliest known Indian mariner.
INSV Kaundinya is built using ancient Indian shipbuilding techniques with wooden planks stitched together with coir rope, coconut fiber and natural resin without a single metal nail. The voyage retraced historic Indian Ocean trade routes, symbolizing centuries-old maritime links between India and Oman. During PM Modi's visit to Oman in December 2025, both nations acknowledged their shared maritime heritage and signed an MOU to deepen cooperation in showcasing maritime traditions. INSV Kaundinya's successful voyage not only celebrates India's maritime legacy, but also strengthens civilizational ties with Oman, marking a new chapter in cultural diplomacy across the Indian Ocean. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
Niti Aayog has released the Export Preparedness Index 2024, a comprehensive assessment of export readiness across India's states and union territories. The index recognizes diversity of subnational economic structures and their critical role in advancing India's global trade ambitions. The first edition of EPI was published in August 2020. This is the 4th edition. At the release, Niti Aayog CEO BVR Subramaniam highlighted that India's export trajectory is increasingly shaped by preparedness of states and districts.
This is the 4th edition of the Export Preparedness Index. It began in 2020 and this is the 4th report. We produce it. We try to produce it annually, but sometimes data gets compressed, so we sometimes produce once in 2 years. It's an extremely important report because exports are one of the key drivers of growth and they are fundamental to our aspirations to become Vikasit Bharat. If you look at the drivers of the economy, there are 4 major drivers. You have consumption demand, you have private investment demand, you have government investment demand, and you have export demand.
India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri met Vice Minister Sun Hyan of International Department of Communist Party of China on Wednesday. Both sides reviewed the positive momentum in bilateral ties and discussed ways to further advance relationship by enhancing people-to-people exchanges and address concerns on sensitive issues. The Chinese side congratulated India on assuming the BRICS chairship and expressed support for a successful BRICS summit. Both sides reaffirmed their commitment to follow the leaders' guidance and move relations towards normalization. Moving on, Intersect 2026, one of the world's largest exhibitions for security, safety and fire protection, concluded today at Dubai World Trade Center. The three-day event was the biggest edition so far, featuring over 1,200 exhibitors from more than 60 countries, attracting over 50,000 visitors, spread across 65,000 square meters. The exhibition showcased new technologies in key areas like homeland security, cyber security and safety. Major attractions included advanced firefighting robots developed by Dubai Civil Defence, equipped with high-capacity water pumps designed to assist in emergency response situations. The nation is celebrating Pongal, a four-day harvest festival reflecting unity, tradition and joy. Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the Pongal celebrations at the residence of Union Minister of State L. Murugan in New Delhi. Here's more.
Bharat is rejoicing in festivities. Pongal, Bihu are being celebrated with immense joy across different parts of the country. While the forms of celebration may vary, the spirit remains the same. In the southern part of the country, the four-day Pongal celebrations are underway. This festival honors the sun, Mother Nature, and the farm animals that contribute to a bountiful harvest. These celebrations have also reached the nation's capital, where people in traditional attire are marking this auspicious occasion with great fervour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi participated in the Pongal celebrations at Minister of State, Information and Broadcasting L. Murugan's residence in Delhi. While addressing the gathering, the Prime Minister said that Pongal has today become a global festival. He added that people connected with the Tamil community and Tamil culture celebrate this festival with great enthusiasm and said he is one among them.
तमिल संस्कृति दुनिया की सबसे प्राचीन जीवित सभ्यताओं में से एक है। तमिल संस्कृति सदियों को जोड़ती है। वो इतिहास से सीखकर वर्तमान को आगे का रास्ता दिखाती है। इसी प्रेरणा से आज का भारत अपनी जड़ों से शक्ति लेकर नई संभावनाओं की ओर आगे बढ़ रहा है।
PM Modi also highlighted the central government's continuous efforts to empower farmers and praised initiatives like Mission Life and Ek Paid Maa Ke Naam.
जब ये धरती हमें इतना कुछ देती है, उसे संजोने का दायित्व भी हमारा है। अगली पीढ़ी के लिए मिट्टी को स्वस्थ रखना, पानी को बचाना और संसाधनों का संतुलित उपयोग करना सबसे जरूरी है। मिशन लाइफ, एक पेड़ मां के नाम, अमृत सरोवर जैसे हमारा अभियान इसी भावना को आगे बढ़ाते हैं।
The Prime Minister witnessed cultural performances reflecting the rich legacy of Tamil culture.
From east to west, north to south, India comes alive with celebrations, radiating joy and fervour. These celebrations, these festivals, not only reflect India's rich cultural legacy, but also beautifully embody the spirit of unity in diversity. With camera person Uttam Singh, this is Siddharth Bharadwaj reporting for DD India in New Delhi.
As the sun begins its northward journey, India celebrates Makar Sankranti, a festival that marks the triumph of light over darkness, warmth over winter and hope over hardship. Rooted in both science and spirituality, this ancient observance honors the sun, the seasons and the farmers of India.
Makar Sankranti is one of the few festivals that falls on the same date across India, yet wears 1,000 colors. In Gujarat, Uttarayan fills the sky with vibrant kites, symbolizing freedom, joy and aspiration. In Punjab and Haryana, Lohri bonfires glow as families sing, dance and offer thanks for the harvest. Across villages and cities, homes are cleaned, sweets are prepared and families come together celebrating not just crops but continuity. Beyond festivity, Makar Sankranti holds deep spiritual meaning. Devotees across North India take holy dips in rivers like the Ganga and Yamuna, believing the sun's northward movement brings purification and renewal. Prayers are offered to Suryadev, the sun god, seeking health, prosperity and inner balance. In Bihar and West Bengal, the festival is known as Posh Sankranti. Riverbanks become centers of devotion, fairs and community gatherings, blending faith with celebrations. In southern India, the festival takes the form of Pongal and Sankranti Sambaralu, celebrated over 4 days in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. Homes are adorned with colorful columns or rangoli and special dishes made from freshly harvested rice, jaggery and milk are prepared, offering gratitude to the sun, cattle and the land. From north to south, east to west, Makar Sankranti beautifully reflects India's unity in diversity, a nation thanking nature, honoring tradition and welcoming new beginnings. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
And more on festivities, the northeast Indian state of Assam is celebrating Bhogali or Magh Bihu, the harvest festival that marks the end of the harvest season and the spirit of community living. Prime Minister Modi greeted the people of Assam on the occasion of Magh Bihu and said that it's an occasion of joy, warmth and brotherhood that embodies the best of Assamese culture.
It is that time of year in Assam when the earth, still fragrant from the harvest, turns into a stage for celebration. Magh Bihu or Bhogali Bihu is here, a festival that celebrates life, community and the land itself. Across villages and towns, the day began with the lighting of the medzi, a traditional bonfire around which prayers are offered, songs are sung, filling the air with joy and gratitude for nature's bounty. In Dibrugarh, families savoured festive delicacies, donned new clothes and lit the medzi. Made of bamboo, hay and wood, the burning of the medzi symbolizes the end of one agricultural cycle and the promise of prosperity and abundance in the year ahead.
असम के लिए ये पारंपरिक एक रीति नीति है, लोकाचार है और इसके चलते सारा असम आज भोगाली का जो सेलिब्रेशन चल रहा है.
Officers and staff living away from their families gathered at the police reserve cantonment in Srinagar to light the medzi, sharing warmth and camaraderie in the festive spirit.
Best wishes for Magh Bihu. We have on behalf of Sivsagar police, we have all gathered here to celebrate Magh Bihu in a traditional way. So we thank you all the press fraternities for cooperating with us, coming here and joining us.
In Guwahati, the historic Latashil Ganesh temple came alive with the spirit of Bhogali Bihu as large crowds gathered early in the morning to witness the ceremonial lighting of the medzi. Magh Bihu, also known as Bhogali Bihu, stands as a reflection of Assam's rich agrarian heritage, celebrating abundance, unity and the enduring bond between the land and its people. The festival follows the night of Uruka, marked by community feasts, and is observed across Assam with traditional rituals, prayers, and cultural celebrations.
From festivities to sports, KL Rahul's sparkling century wasn't enough to secure India's grip on the second ODI in Rajkot as New Zealand stormed to a series-levelling win on Wednesday. Rahul's unbeaten 112 of 92 balls, supported by Shubman Gill's composed 56 runs, lifted India to 284 for 7 after early setbacks. Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli fell cheaply, while Kiwi pacer Chris Clark's triple strike denied India a bigger total. In reply, New Zealand recovered from early losses through a commanding stand between Will Young and Daryl Mitchell. Young's fluent 87 laid the foundation, but Mitchell's unbeaten 131 turned the chase firmly in the visitors' favour. Glenn Phillips chipped in with 32 not out, guiding the Kiwis home by 7 wickets with 15 balls remaining, setting up a thrilling series decider. A mixed start for India at the India Open Super 750 in New Delhi. PV Sindhu suffered a first-round exit while Kidambi Srikanth and HS Prannoy advanced. Malvika Basod and women's doubles pair of Trisa Gayatri also moved into round 2. DD India's Taposh Bhattacharya has more.
It was a mixed day for India at the India Open in New Delhi. Two-time Olympic medalist PV Sindhu crashed out in the opening round, losing to Vietnam's Thuy Linh Nguyen 22-20, 12-21, 15-21 in a 68-minute battle, despite winning a closely fought first game.
It was not my day, that much I can tell you, because I think there were good rallies. And yeah, I mean, she's not an easy player as well. I think irrespective of the ranking, I think, you know, when you come to a top level tournaments, I think everybody does play well. Wins and losses keeps happening. I think it's time to, go back and prepare for the next tournament.
In men's singles, Kidambi Srikanth dug deep to defeat fellow Indian Tharun Mannepalli 15-21, 21-6, 21-19, while HS Prannoy impressed on his late entry, beating Hong Kong's Lee Chiuk Yui 22-20, 21-18 to reach the second round.
Winning a round always feels nice, and especially getting into a 750 and as I said, getting another opportunity to kind of play itself is something big for me. And I think today also when I got into the court, I think the one thing which I was telling myself was that even if it goes his way, I shouldn't be really worried about it. I think I should be enjoying what I'm doing, and I think probably that helped really a lot. So
Malvika Bansod returned from injury in style, defeating Pai Yu Po of Chinese Taipei 21-18, 21-19. Young Tanvi Sharma fought hard before losing 20-22, 21-18, 13-21 to world number 2 Wang Ziyi.
I played very well. I didn't expect that I'll do the third game, the final game. I was playing well in the first game as well, but there were some errors after 19-20. So I lost 20-22. But in the second game, I played very well from the start of the match, start of the game of the second set. So yeah, in the third game, when there was 11-5, 11-6, I got tired, but I tried my best.
In women's doubles, Trisa Jolly and Gayatri Gopichand cruised past Thailand's Onnicha Jangsathapurnaparn and Sukita Suvachai 21-15, 21-11. India, however, endured a disappointing outing in mixed doubles, with all pairs exiting in the first round. Tapas Bhattacharya report, DD India.
And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan this QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.